So I went into the military. Here we go, another phase. I can't believe it. I checked into Fort Ord, and I'd been there a few weeks in basic training and got into trouble one day. And I don't remember what it was about, but I remember that the sergeant picked on me, and he gave me an extra duty that night after everybody went to bed. And that was that I was to clean the latrine floor for whatever reason I had violated, and with a toothbrush. And before I cleaned it, he took his heels and went all over the bathroom area and marked them up good. He said, "When you're done, wake me up." So I'm in there with the toothbrush going like this, and I'm really unhappy. And I decide, I wonder if I can find a bigger brush. And I did. So I went with the big brush and cleaned it all up, put it away, and went in and told him, and he came in and looked at it. He said, "That's good," and I went to bed. But a couple weeks later, before basic was completed, I was set back to start all over again. So I did start basic training again, got through it this time, and then they sent me up to Fort Lewis, Washington, in a combat engineers battalion. That's dangerous work. Those are the guys that build the bridges under fire. One day we're out in the field bivouacking or whatever, living out of tents, and a Jeep comes out to our area, and the driver comes over to the sergeant, and he said something to him, and the sergeant turns around and he calls me out, and he said, "They want you back at headquarters, back at the company office." So they drove me out there, and I went into the first sergeant, and he said, "Private Frank, I don't know what's going on here, but I don't want any funny stuff coming out of here." I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Well, they want you over at Special Services. When you first go into the military, you get your hair cut, you get your clothes, you this and that, but then they interview you and they're trying to find out, who are you?" Well, these guys were looking at that and they wanted to know more about my musical things. So I went over there, and my trumpet playing and baritone playing wasn't good enough to get into the Army band, but the singing was. And thus ended my basic training career. I got pulled out of basic training and moved into, I became part of a cast for a television program called March On in Seattle. It was Army, Navy, Air Force from Accord, but we would put on a weekly television program, mostly music, and I would sing on television. Solos, I don't remember doing any group work there. In the meantime, instead of living on the base, I was living in a hotel downtown Seattle. And it was a good gig, and it went on for, several weeks. People like me in the military were known as bug outs, people who were trying to avoid being soldiers. And I was not a good soldier. I did not like it. And I was able to, through my creativeness and observation and some skills that I had developed, I was able to get away with it. It was not something to be proud of, but it was the reality of my life, and it was a reflection of how I think. And I'm sure glad that that guy interviewed me when I went into the Army up at Fort Ord, because he wrote down these things that really helped me to escape doing those other soldierly type things.